to Leitner. Puts it up.
You're listening to the Culture State Podcast.
Get ready. Woo!
Oh my goodness. Look how beautiful this production is. Look how beautiful this production is. You got Culture State in the background.
You got
my camera looking all, nice and smooth and all that good stuff. You got Dennis looking slim.
Well, first of all, you should be looking smooth. Your name is Show Smooth. So that is built in. And it's the shirt for me. For those who are actually watching this and not listening, it's 100% the shirt. People can tell. If I turn to the side for a side profile, people are like, good God, turn the camera off. And plus,
you're looking good though. All right, you're getting your summer body in. I see you. And if you're listening, you gotta go watch the video. We're on the 99.9 The Fans YouTube. I'm sorry, 99.9 The Fans YouTube.
Yeah, we're on there, so you can watch the interviews and watch us converse back and forth. But yeah, I mean, I'm about to turn 35 next, in June, and I'm still a single guy. I gotta.
Welcome to the 35 Club. Yes, sir. All right, you're listening to the Culture State Podcast.
Yes, this is Culture State Podcast.
Yeah, we forgot to say that at the beginning, but we're gonna keep rolling. I'm Chris Lee.
Well, and I'm Dennis Cox. You can give me a follow at the Fan Rookie. Plus, here's the thing: people can see our background, Chris. For those who are watching, so
yeah,
they know who we are.
I'm right now I'm waiting until we get into our new house so I can get a nice background and make things. But right now I'm just in the spare bedroom. It's junky on one end, so I've got the camera pointed, so you don't see all the storage. And you're at the cool radio station, so like yours is a lot better setup.
I am. There's some antique CDs over here to my left, which people don't even know what those are anymore. You can't even put those in a car nowadays. But your car doesn't even have a CD.
CDs like when you go to the bank. What? A CD?
You and your investments, always. you and your investments, Chris.
Yeah, I gotta invest my cash.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, but I love that. I love that background. I'll have a cool background at some point, maybe in like 3 months, whenever they finish this house. But this episode of the Culture State Podcast, I really enjoyed this interview. We talked with somebody. When you think of a running back, there's a few people that you think of immediately. And for me, it is Emmitt Smith.
Yeah.
It is Barry Sanders. Yeah. And it is Natrone Means.
Oh, one of the best names in football history, by the way.
One of the best names ever.
Yes.
And I absolutely mean that. And that's not a pun. Like when I was growing up, I always heard that is a bad boy. Those are the exact words I always heard from my dad and from other people in the barbershop. They just thought he could run over everybody. And that's pretty much what he did.
And he did. The guy was built like a fire hydrant, but could run like Barry Sanders. It was so fun to watch. I remember just watching games growing up. It was like, that name always stood out. Natrone Means, and it's just this dude that would just run you over, and just watching him as a kid growing up and watching him play in the Super Bowl. It's just like, dude, that dude is that dude. And he was the fiercest as it could be as a running back. And in an era when you mentioned guys like Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, some of the more elusive guys that we've seen. But that guy was just give him the rock 20 times a game and he'll get you 100 yards.
But then also he could catch passes out the backfield.
Yeah.
So, that's, running backs have always kind of done that. But I think lately, the last, 5-10 years or so, that's been a real, emphasis on running backs. Like how can you run routes as well? Like the whole new Christian McCaffrey thing. And he could also do that, and catch a touchdown on your head. Don't put the linebacker on him because he will outrun him for sure.
Yeah, you can almost say he was, with his size and his ability to catch the ball, you can almost say he was a little bit ahead of his time. Like you mentioned, you hear with running back evaluations when it comes to drafts, it's like, well, his pass catching ability isn't that great. Regarding NFL prospects. So that is something to say for a guy that his size and his ability to catch the ball in the backfield. Yeah, he was ahead of his time. I always think of what could have been if he played in a different era. If he played in this era, which he'll talk about, man, if, spread the field out a little bit, I got all this open space to work with. Boy, who knows what I could have done.
And another thing too, and we didn't have a chance to ask him this, but I know that this would have made a difference. But the sports science from today versus what it was in the early 90s when he was in college, and how kids can have certain things to do to keep them healthy or make them stronger in certain areas, or just simply the things that that could elongate your career. There are probably certain things that, if he were coming up these days, he, instead of having the career he had, I think it was like 8 or 9 years in the NFL, probably could have been, 12, 13, 14 year career in NFL in producing at the level that he produced at.
I sit there and think now, what I know now, if I knew that then, how different my college lacrosse career could have been, just all the things that we know now, even just personally, just in our business, if we knew how things were going to change, 2008, 2009, we could have been, one of those people that were ahead of the game. So I think a lot of people can say that or relate to that in some sort of way, but in sports specifically, the early 90s compared to the last 5 years, the things that we have learned and how training has changed.
Yeah.
It's night and day compared to what it was.
And you think about recently, that video that surfaced is actually an old video, like almost a year old, but of that young kid in the hitting drill. And it's from Weddington, North Carolina. And he just gets, absolutely trucked by, it looks like a kid that's a lot bigger than what he is. And, helmet first, knocks him over, that type of thing. Maybe 15 years ago, that video would have been like, oh, that's crazy. He needs to learn how to hit. But right now, that looks like a car wreck. And we are sensitive towards it. And it looks like, whoever, and this did happen, whoever was responsible for it should lose their job. That did happen. And I'm so glad that we're at that point in football now. But it also makes you think, man, what kind of careers would guys have back in the 90s and back, maybe all the way back in the 80s and 70s? Like, how would their careers be better if, we treated football then the way we treat it now?
Yeah, their careers and just their overall livelihood. I think that's something to take into consideration too. It's just how the toll it takes on their body. I mean, I played football through my freshman year in college, and I'm still getting my back corrected from years of playing sports. And I didn't play the career, the intensity that these guys had. So I think just something that we're very cognizant of, and I think that's a good thing. Why wouldn't we want people to be healthier? Yes, we're still playing these sports that are intense and physical and all those things, but why wouldn't we want it to be still safer, but still carry that level of intensity? There's always a risk when you play these high contact level sports. Things are going to happen, but let's be more cognizant.
That's real. Absolutely real. Definitely enjoyed this interview with Natrone Means, former UNC Chapel Hill running back, now current offensive analyst for the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. He'll talk about that. We'll talk about his time coaching in the CIAA as far as, and then also we cross paths when he was at Winston-Salem State and I was at WXI on the sidelines at Bowman Gray Stadium covering Winston-Salem State. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And also just, different things how he feels about the state of North Carolina and different things that went on in his professional career. And also his favorite nickname.
Oh,
got to stick around for that on the Culture State podcast with Natrone Means, hosted by me, Chris Lee, and
me, Dennis Cox. Natrone Means after this.
All right, Dennis, growing up in Greensboro, I always heard this name. This was like the first name of a running back I heard. And my dad kept saying, that guy is a bad boy. And his name is Natrone Means. And now he's back with UNC Chapel Hill as an offensive analyst. So, of course, we have to have him on the Culture State podcast because that name rings bells in North Carolina. Mr. Means, how you doing today?
Doing well, sir. How are you guys?
Great. Thank you for coming on. First off, you're back on the sidelines with Mack Brown, but this time you're in his coaching tree. How does it feel? How did that come up? And how does it feel to be back on the sidelines at your alma mater?
Oh man, it's a awesome opportunity. Words can't describe the feeling. What it's like to come back in a different role at a place where I created so many special memories in my life. on the football field. My wife, she and I met there, and having a chance to, create so many, lifelong friendships, having a chance to get back and work under Coach Brown is definitely an awesome feeling.
Now, I'm wondering, Natrone, just your time here at North Carolina, when you went out to the West Coast, did people ask you, hey, what was it like out there living in North Carolina? Because you're out there with the San Diego Chargers. I'm sure there probably weren't many people who knew anything about North Carolina out there at that time.
Yeah, correct. So, being on the West Coast was very different. I soon realized that I was I wouldn't say out of my element, but I had to get used to some new surroundings. I remember a funny story I like to tell is that before I moved to San Diego, I used to think that Taco Bell was Mexican food. So I got a real awakening there. Traveling so far, people have their perceptions of North Carolina. So that always made for, interesting conversation. But yeah, it was definitely a change from what I was used to. Great weather though, so I could never be upset with that.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about Cali. Like the weather, especially Southern California, the weather is just always amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that you were out there with the Chargers for a little bit, but I think the amazing thing when I was going back and just kind of researching your career, because a lot of it happened when I was young, and just remembering things. You were at the time, it's since been broken, but at the time you were the youngest person to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, little
like
when history fact.
When that happened. First off, I'm sure you're in the game and you're not thinking about that. But when did you find out about that stat that you were the youngest person to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl? How did that make you feel?
You know what? After the game, I found out a lot of my buddies were calling me, hitting me up on it. I'm not sure if it was brought up immediately after the game. If it was, I probably didn't remember. I was still a little salty over just getting taken to the woodshed, by the 49ers. So you're right at that time. Obviously, those thoughts never did cross my mind. Afterwards, right, you come to realize that, even though things didn't turn out the way we had hoped and, as far as the game is concerned, I was able to, celebrate a individual accomplishment that, only comes to realization because of the guys who were, obviously up front blocking and everybody played a vital role in putting us in that position. And, I was just fortunate enough at a young age, man, to be able to get that peel across the goal line.
Chris, when you think about it, you look at Natrone being one of the youngest to ever score a touchdown, at the time, the youngest to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl, a North Carolina running back. Willie Parker, the longest Super Bowl run the longest touchdown run in Super Bowl history, another North Carolina running back. So I'm curious, Natrone seems to be a little bit of a lineage of running backs coming out of North Carolina, at least having success in the Super Bowl. You got a couple of young guys that just left the program, Javonte Williams, Michael Carter.
Yep.
So can these guys, be that next line of great North Carolina running backs we've seen?
Oh, yeah. I think, we definitely hope so. And I think, anybody who's paid attention to, what those guys have done in college, I think, the body of work that they have shown, the amount of production that each one has produced would only lead us to believe that, success lies ahead for those guys. I know for me, as I was growing up as a young kid in North Carolina, something that obviously drew me to the university was the tradition of tailbacks who played the position there. You can start with Charlie Justice and, Don McCauley, and those were guys who, obviously were a little bit before my time, so I didn't get a chance to see them play. But now, for me growing up, it was, William Humes, Tyrone Anthony, Kennard Martin, Kelvin Bryant, Ethan Horton. Those were the guys. Derek Fenner, as I was coming up, those were the guys who I idolized and wanted to, get a chance to be a part of that program to make my stamp on that running back room. So I know that, when I arrived at the university, the tailback tradition was something that was thoroughly marketed and pushed. I think we went on the drought there for a while without having 1,000-yard back. I think Linton came back and put us on the map. But again, you talk about the names, Curtis and Leon Johnson, Gio Bernard, the history and the tradition in that running back room is definitely there. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. and definitely believe that Javonte and Michael are just going to be the next two to add their names to a long list of talented guys that played here.
Now we're all former athletes here. We can't touch any of your accomplishments, though. Like
no,
we didn't really do a lot after high school. Or well, Dennis did some stuff in college.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, like, from a competitive standpoint, because I know I'm always doing this. Like, could I have done this back in the day, or if I was with this group of guys, can I? If you're looking at the current team and you are in your prime, you're 19 years old, or college prime, I should say. You're 19, you're 20 years old. You see the North Carolina team that's there right there. If you had Sam Howell right there with you, what could you do with this team if we were talking about Natrone Means in 2021?
Now listen, here's what I tell you, right? A 19-year-old Natrone Means would not care what environment he was in. If you put him in the game, he's going to be ready to go. I think that we did not have the luxury of such a great quarterback. I played with some good quarterbacks during my time, but I don't think any of those guys would say that, going into their senior year or, junior year, presumably last year at the university, that they would be on the same level as Sam in terms of, his accomplishments and, what's been predicted for him or being talked about him in terms of next level play. So I would like to think that if I would have had a chance to run against some of those light boxes created by, all the space created by slinging that ball all over the yard. I think something tells me I would have been okay.
Well, how much does the game change from when you played to what it is now?
Yeah, definitely. It's there's definitely been a shift in terms of player safety, right? With so much going on. With taking care of the guys, right? The support that the players have off the field, that in itself has just been drastically changed, since the time that I was playing in the game. In terms of what's happening on the field, there's not as much ground and pound. The RPO has obviously impacted the game in ways that I was never fortunate enough to play in those types of systems. But at the end of the day, it's still a physical game. It's tackling, right? It's catching, it's running, and at the end of the play, there's going to be some kind of collision that's going to happen, and physicality still rules the day. So while there's been a lot of change, I think, in terms of how you dress it up, right? How you dress it up and how you show it, how we go about actually doing it. At the end of the day, the end result is still the same. It's a physical game, right? It's a physical game, and player safety has definitely come to the forefront, as well it should. But on that front, I would say the support system of the player, right? The support system of the player would have to be the thing that has changed the most since I've been, since my time on the field.
I want to ask you a little bit about Mack Brown. I was still at WXI in Winston-Salem when he, came back, and it was announced, and I went to that introductory press conference to cover it, and I remember him as a kid, and I remember him at Texas, but I've forgotten how just charismatic he is. Mm-hmm. And like when I at that introductory press conference, I was like, wow, I would love to actually play for this guy, just because he just seems like such a cool guy. What was your first interaction with Mack Brown, and what was it about him and the program that made you want to come to Carolina in the first place? And then not only just that, come back years later to help him rebuild the program.
So for me, I like to tell the story that I was probably one of the easiest recruits that Coach Brown ever signed. Growing up, I was a big Tar Heel fan. I knew that was the place for me, and if given the opportunity, it was going to be where I was going to attend college. I used to go and I used to have a routine where on Saturday nights I would ask my mother if I could spend the night at my grandmother's house, but I would leave my church shoes at home, so I wouldn't have to go to church the next day. Because my mother was expecting me to ride to church with my grandmother, and then I'd go home with her after the service. So I had a routine where I would go to my grandmother's house on Saturday night. I'd leave my church shoes at home on purpose, and Sunday morning, I don't have that. I don't have the shoes to complete my outfit, so I don't have to go to church. So that allowed me an opportunity to stay at home, right, and watch the Dick Crumb show. So I would do that. I did that probably about 3 or 4 times before my grandmother finally caught on. And, she had me in the back of the church with my Sunday best on in my tennis shoes. But, she finally figured out what I was doing. So, kind of a brief explanation as to, my affinity for the university and the football program in itself. When I was coming out of college, I only took one official visit. That was to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. I had visits set up at Florida State, at Tennessee, at, South Carolina, some pretty decent football programs, but I only took one. I remember my mother, before we went in to a one-on-one meeting with Coach Brown, and she wanted to make sure that I knew that this wasn't going to be the time for us to commit, that we still had other visits to go, because she knew that's where I wanted to be. And hey, she said, hey, we're not going to commit here. We're just going to go in. We're going to talk, and we're going to have a conversation. And I told her, I looked in her face and I said, yes, ma'am, I understand. We walked in, we sat down. Coach Brown said, we'd love for you to come. I said, I'm coming. So all she could really do was respect my decision. So, just for me, North Carolina has always been the place for me. Having Coach Brown there, was just an extra added bonus. I've asked him a couple of times, because I didn't realize. I've asked him a couple of times since I've been back, because I didn't realize. Obviously, while I was there as a player, and he had just arrived as our coach, and he's only 36 years old at the time when he came in and and became my head coach. And that's been an interesting topic of conversation as well. And now to see him, in his current role, while still serving as the head coach, but he's more of an he's got, the head coach doesn't seem to be a big enough title, to really describe what coach is to the university. Football ambassador. I mean, I don't know. An ambassador for the university. I don't know where to start, or where to end. But it's just been, amazing to see him come back and to see his energy and to see him, interact and talk to the guys, and the way that he navigates all of the issues that are currently going on within our society, in our society, that all of our players feel, right? That all of our players feel. Coach speaks to it daily. He speaks to it daily, and in only a way that he can, right? And only way that he can, that brings the most out of the young man in this program.
What are those conversations like? You said, they're on a daily basis. What can you dive more into what those conversations are like, and how your team responds to that?
Oh, I mean, well, Coach just when Coach Brown addresses the team, whenever there is a significant issue, or a significant story, or a significant theme that's taking place in our society, at times those are the conversations that are being had. It's not like we're in a bubble, and all these things in our country are going on around us, and we're not aware. Everybody's aware, but Coach does a great job of making sure that our guys have all the information that they need to make their own decisions as they develop as young men in this world, and that they do it in a way that represents that represents themselves, their families, in the university, in the most positive and best light. So just again, watching coaches, he talks to our guys daily, and making sure that our players have all the tools that they need to be successful in all aspects of life. And even if guys want to transfer, Coach talks all the time, because the transfer portal is a real thing. Coach talks about that, and he wants to make sure that guys understand that his job is to help them, and to make sure that they're in the best possible place that they can be to succeed and achieve all the dreams and goals that they've set for themselves. And while as unfortunate as it may be sometimes, that may not be at the University of North Carolina, but Coach does a great job of making sure those guys know that you're part of the family. We love you. Our job is to support you and to help you in any way that we can.
I do want to ask you this, going on that same line of thinking, when we're talking about players speaking out about, certain issues now, people are using their voices. What types of things you grew up in North Carolina, you grew up in the South. What types of things have you gone through from maybe a racial standpoint to where you can pull a player to the side and say, hey, I went through this. This is how I navigated to get through it. And to help give them advice. What are some of the issues that you've maybe experienced in your time growing up in the South?
I think that obviously, growing up, as a Black man in the South, there were some instances from my, early childhood, on up through my, adult life where, race was a factor, in those interactions. I think that, for me, in order to, share my experiences, with our guys, that would be, obviously we're open to that, right? Obviously we're open to sharing our experiences, but I haven't been there long enough, right? I haven't been there long enough in the university. I got there right before spring ball started. And as I got in, it was, 30 straight days of work, and then the guys were out of there and they were at home. So, I haven't sat down and, had those conversations, with the players yet. But, obviously I'm, willing and open to share any and, all of my experiences. I think that, I've had good conversations with, Coach Woods about, something that happened, when I was being recruited at the University of South Carolina. While he was the head coach there, and it was just a conversation that he and I had, and I never thought in a million years, right, that I'd have the opportunity to sit down and talk with Coach Woods, because I hadn't been that close in that proximity to have that conversation with him since the time when I was being recruited 30 some odd years ago. But Coach Woods and I sat down one morning and just had a brief conversation. I explained to him about again, the situation that had happened when, I was visiting the University of South Carolina, and he listened, and, he told me that he was glad that I shared it. And, it's just that, in this time, right, that we're living, it, creates opportunities for conversations, and at the end of the day, right, at the end of the day, if it's going to take, right, it's going to take dialogue to get to where we need to be, right? So, if you're able and open and willing to sit down and listen, right, then, I believe there's always a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to ask about the CIAA. I mean, you spent a few years there, a lot of your time as a coach in the CIAA. Livingstone went to Salem State, Fayetteville State. Am I missing any?
No, those are my CIAA schools, correct, sir.
What's it like, there, most of the time at, went to Salem State, what's it like, just being on that level and being, you don't have the resources that you have at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. So you guys have to be, super resourceful, and I'm sure you have to wear a bunch of different hats. But at the same time, you are, a mentor to a lot of kids who want to get to where you're at. What was your time like there, and how has it made you a better coach?
Yeah, I think so. Just because you said, just because, as you said, you have to wear, so many different hats, right? Your official title may be, running back coach, but I mean, you're a recruiting coordinator, right? You're a student athlete support, you're academics, your weight room staff, your equipment, and in some instances, right, for basketball games, your security, right? So everybody's chipping in and everybody's doing their part, because again, you do not have, the resources, right, of the major Division I or even fully funded Division II institutions. So it creates more of a family atmosphere, I would say, because all departments from all across campuses are pulled together in order to make sporting events or whatever event may be happening on campus, right? It takes that village to make those events happen. In most cases, at the HBCUs or the Division II schools. At UNC, right? I mean, there's a recruiting department, right? There's an academic department, right? There's a student support There's student support services, and there's a point person who ensures that away from the football field that these athletes get everything that it is that they need to be successful, right, and to ensure that that they are getting better, right, the holistic collegiate experience. You are your meals are better, your travel is better, your gear is better. So on every level that you can imagine, it's going to be better. But you still have guys who on that level, on the Division II level, right, have hopes and dreams and the same aspirations as those guys who are quote unquote playing the big time football. And for me, the one thing that I really always wanted to focus on, and I always tried to talk to the coaches wherever I was at, man, was to make sure that we took care of our guys and gave them everything that we could, because they deserve it, man. They deserve it. They deserve it. Those guys are busting their tails. Those guys are, going to class. Those guys are, some of those guys are working jobs, right? Going above and beyond, just doing anything that they can, right, in order to take advantage of an opportunity to play college football. So, for me, it was eye-opening in a sense, right? It was eye-opening in a sense because you've always hear of stories, and you always hear guys talk about their experiences, coming from HBCUs, right, coming from black college ball. But having a chance to be, having a chance to be in it and to live it, on several different levels, because a Livingstone College does not have the same budget, athletically, as Winston-Salem State. And Fayetteville State doesn't have the same budget, as a Winston-Salem State. But you watch how different programs, utilize what it is that they have at their disposal to make sure that their student athletes have the best possible opportunities that they can to succeed. I mean, you can't do nothing but take your hat off, man. You can't do nothing but take your hat off, because these coaches, these administrators, these kids, they're grinding and fighting every day, right? Grinding and fighting every day, man, for that opportunity to live their dream as well.
I want to bring up a.
Oh, go ahead,
for it, Dennis.
I'll say I can somewhat relate. I was a D3 athlete, and I coach Division III right now. So everything you just said about having to work things around with pulling all the extra weight and those low budgets, I 100% know exactly what you mean.
Painting fields, man. You
have
to do it all. Yeah.
I was just gonna bring up a name. With you being a running backs coach, Kerryon Moore. He was somebody at Winston-Salem State that always felt like he needed to be at a higher level. People didn't get a chance to really see him that much, but man, he was always running all over folks at Winston-Salem State. What are your thoughts on him and just how well he did when he was in college? Looked like you have a smile on your face when I brought his name.
I was about to say, man, you see me smiling. He was, you talk about, as a coach, right? You have like your guys. And I can honestly say hands down that Kerryon was one of my guys. I actually talked to him, a couple of weeks ago. He's in, Milwaukee right now playing, in an indoor league up there. And Kerryon was a guy who, at first we didn't see eye to eye. We did not see eye to eye. I think my coaching style was, something that Kay had to get used to. But he was a guy who was, who was all in. He was one of my favorites. There's no doubt about it. He was a hard worker, great practice player, great kid. Came in, was originally coming out of high school a Duke commit. Had an issue with the test. So he had to, go to, I think, Tulane College, maybe his first year. Redshirted, was academically ineligible. So he was a great student there. We ended up getting him at Winston. He came in, maybe had some issues, probably his first year. We had some growing pains his first year. But when he got it and when he bought in, I like to tell everybody it was not a matter if, it was just a matter of when. with carry on. You just feed him the ball, and it's not going to be a matter of if. It's just going to be a matter of when. He's going to break one, and he's going to make something happen. And he's the guy, just like you said. I thought deserved an opportunity to at least be in somebody's camp. We know what the numbers are when it comes to NFL, right? And guys getting those chances, and we know that it's going to be tough. And coming from the Division II level, not only are you going to have to be exceptional, exceptional on the field. You're going to have to test out of this world, and if not, you're gonna have to take the long route. And I think K's just going to have to take the long route. I'm pulling for him that as long as he sticks with it, that's what I tell him. You should fight and play as long as you can, because once you stop and you go to work, you're gonna work forever. You're gonna work forever. So chase it as long as you can. He's got his college degree, but Kerryon Moore was a great player who, in 3 years, in 3 years, he cemented himself into Winston-Salem State history.
I didn't know he was a Duke commit, but it makes sense because every time I saw that guy on the field, I was just like, Winston-Salem State has a gem here, because he deserved to be on somebody's Division I field. Yeah. And I'm glad to see he's doing well in the indoor league. As we're wrapping up here, I wanted to know, and I'm sure Dennis wants to know too, like, what are some of your fondest memories and thoughts when you think about the state of North Carolina, not just playing at North Carolina or coaching at North Carolina, the state of North Carolina? What makes this place so great for you?
When I think about the state of North Carolina, I think about, for some reason, I don't know why, I think about 4 seasons. I've always thought, people would ask me, like, what's so great about being in North Carolina is that we get you get 4 seasons. I get 4 seasons every year. I don't know why. That's always something that's been big about it to me, right? You get 4 distinctive seasons. Obviously being from here, I think it's just a beautiful place to be. It's where I grew up. It's where it's where my roots are. My family, my friends, just a large part of my life, has always taken place here. And, even though I had a chance to get away and, go to California and be on that side of the, of the U.S. for, a short period of my life. I mean, I don't know. It's just hard to describe. It's home, right? It's home. There's just nothing like it. The people, the family, the memories, the school, I can go on and on, but it's just, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like North Carolina for me.
Nice. What's your favorite nickname that anybody's ever given you?
My favorite nickname. The Natrone Means business was.
I like that one.
Was probably the best one when I was at San Diego, and we were. I was kind of having a pretty good run, and I think the Berman used to call me refried Means. He was like refried, and I thought that was just like the worst nickname ever. And then I'm also in the room, right, with because Eric Bieniemy's he was in the room with us too, and Berman called him Eric sleeping with Bieniemy. I'm like, now he's got the coolest nickname ever, and I'm out here, I'm like refried. So we were playing Kansas City. And, you do the production meeting, right? When they come in, they want to talk about, scheme and, your opponents and kind of what you think about the week. And after we wrapped that up, I was talking to Chris Mortensen and the ESPN guys. I was like, hey, man, can you, say something to Berman? Like, refried is like really the best he can do. I'm like, can you pass the word? Can you pass the word? Can you get me a better nickname? So I ended up having a good game against Kansas City, and you can actually go. It's funny. You can actually go on YouTube, and we got some highlights on YouTube, and they show those Kansas City highlights. And mid highlight, Berman says, "We're done with refried. He just means business," and that's when the Natrone Means business starts.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, if you ever start your own business, then that could just be the name right there. Natrone Means business.
Yeah.
LLC.
Yeah, I like that. Natrone Means Business LLC. Let me go ahead and get that jumping real quick.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to see you on the sidelines for sure.
Yes,
and see
sir.
your growth as a coach. And of course, at WRAL, we're gonna make sure we cover you and support you through here. Love to see that you went from a player, had your success as a player, having the success as a coach, and also giving back to the community. I love to see stuff like that.
Hey man, thanks. I appreciate it, man.
Natrone Means, baby.
Why you mad, bro?
Natrone Means.
Yeah, Natrone Means business.
Exactly. I love that.
No more refried means.
I can't even front though. I like refried means, but
you like refried beans?
I like refried beans and means, but I like Natrone Means business as well. I think that's my favorite one. But refried means is not a bad one at all.
Refried means it's not bad. Natrone Means business though, I think is perfect. Now it probably would not shock you, Chris. I'm gonna just go quick aside here. I don't like refried beans.
Oh my god,
which makes perfect sense because you like jelly and jam. I don't. You drink wine. I don't. You like IPAs. I hate them. So this is perfect.
Hold up. Every time we talk about food, you hate something.
No, well.
Is literally, do you only eat meat? Is that literally the only thing that you eat?
No, not the only thing that I eat.
Why are you such a picky eater, Dennis? What is this about?
Okay. All right.
How did you become thick?
Yeah, you talk about slimming. I'm thick. Come on now. Now, here's something. In this world, I think there are two things in this world you can be picky about, in my opinion. One, the food you eat, and two, the people you date. Okay? Because both can leave you with a stomach ache, if not more. So that's the reason why I don't like refried beans, man. I tried. Didn't like them.
How is a woman going to leave you with a stomach ache, Dennis?
Chris, you're married. You wouldn't understand, okay?
I guess not. Okay. Well, whatever digestive. That's the reason why I don't eat meat, because, it makes my stomach hurt. Dairy makes my stomach hurt.
And that's part of you being picky. That's fair.
It's not picky. I think it's more so for health, because when you're talking about meat, I'm literally saying, if we talk about, the in vogue things to eat, I don't eat chickens, cows, pigs, fish. That's like 4 things. And the things that come from them. Okay. Turkey,
which is a lot.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's like 5 foods and the things that come from them, if we're including eggs and dairy and all that type of stuff. I just don't eat that. All the great vegetables, nuts, legumes, fruits, grains, all that great stuff.
I will eat some beans. I just don't like refried beans.
Do you like Mexican food?
Some of it, yeah.
So you just don't eat the beans when it?
No, just don't eat the beans. I know that's like a shocker to you, Chris, but
if we go to a Mexican restaurant together, then you're gonna get all your plates with no beans, and I'm gonna get all my plates with no cheese.
Pretty much.
And they're gonna look at us like, "Yo, what is wrong with these guys? They're not even getting that full authentic experience."
Yeah, who are these people? Who are these people? I'm probably gonna get a chicken quesadilla with like lettuce or something like that in it. You're just gonna get a bowl of rice with beans.
No, you can get like a chile relleno and just put beans, or put spinach stuffing inside, or you get there's all kinds of things. Like there's a whole vegetarian menu that you probably haven't even noticed at most Mexican restaurants.
Can't say I've noticed, but either way, the reason why we're talking about Mexican food is because Natrone Means in his time in California said he actually enjoyed loving real authentic Mexican food in his time in Southern California. So that's actually part of the conversation. The reason why we kind of bring that up into a bit, but Natrone, I think it's pretty cool to see him go for basically come full circle with his career. Chose North Carolina, knew he was going there. As soon as he got offered, let's go. And playing for Mack Brown, having his professional career, starting his coaching career, not coming back to North Carolina under Mack Brown.
Yep.
Pretty cool to see.
I absolutely love it. And he's one of those guys that I think will be a change agent when it comes down to, helping young athletes kind of, see their fullest potential. You know, he's somebody from North Carolina, went to the University of North Carolina, went and played professionally, also played for the Carolina Panthers for a year.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, that's also big. Played in the Super Bowl and made history while playing in the Super Bowl. Kids will listen to him. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have him on this podcast and get a chance to talk to him. So, happy to see what he ends up doing at UNC Chapel Hill. Maybe one day, you know, Mack Brown is not going to be the head coach forever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day, if it's not Dre Bly, maybe it's Natrone Means. Or maybe Natrone Means, Dre Bly is the head coach, Natrone Means is the offensive coordinator. Who knows?
Love to see it. Would love to see it. You know, actually something that's kind of interesting. I just thought about this, Chris. These kids that are being recruited right now, I bet their dads are kind of like us who watched Natrone Means when they were younger and know exactly who that person is.
Mm-hmm.
And have fond memories of his playing career. I actually still have, I think, a couple of his like rookie or his, you know, NFL football cards. I think I still have a couple of those probably laying around at my parents' house. But
do you think there's any Natrone Means NFTs out there?
There needs to be now.
I need to get an NFT of Natrone Means.
Yeah, we do. That could be our first Culture State purchase. Natrone Means NFT.
Yo, okay. Sorry, that's a whole different idea. We should definitely do that. We should do like Culture State NFTs and talk about our collections.
Well, if that's the case,
this is something we have to talk about off mic.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about this off air because I have a lot of comic books I can show you right now.
Yeah,
not here. I have a collection of CDs here at the radio studio, which, by the way, that should actually be a show in and of itself.
Those will be collectibles.
Oh yeah,
those will be collectibles. I had to explain to my daughter the other day what a CD was. She found a CD. She said, "Daddy, what's this?" It's like, it plays music. She's like, "No, music's on your phone." It's like, no. So I actually had to go show her how it played. I actually have a CD player in my car right now.
So do I. Like, we're living in old times now.
Yeah, I know, right? All
right,
now,
that's
God
gonna wrap.
forbid if she finds a cassette, because I wouldn't be able to show her how that plays.
Oh man, the things that kids won't know these days: how to get a butter knife out of the drawer and re-spool the cassette. I don't know. I've had to do that before.
Or a pencil.
I never did the pencil route. I used to use a butter knife. That's usually was my go-to. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of the Culture State Podcast. You can find us wherever you get your podcast while Chris is over here being angry. At Culture State Pod on Instagram and on Twitter. You can follow me at The Fan Rookie.
Follow me at Chris Lee TV. This is my Natrone Means business face.
It's a good look on you. It's a good look on you.
My daughter thinks that's hilarious.
Well, she's 4 years old. That would make sense. And she doesn't know better yet. Wait till she's 14. It'll happen.
Or maybe she's a regular person and she just likes stuff. You don't like anything.
All right, now you're making
doesn't like jelly.
No, I don't like jelly. Okay, you know what?
Jelly, IPA. Who doesn't like IPAs?
I don't like IPAs.
Who doesn't like wine?
Me.
Oh my God. And then, but you turn up your nose at me when I say, "Hey, let's go get a vegan burger." You're like,
okay, actually, I went with you one time to go get one, but I did not have time.
And you said, "Oh, the line is long. I guess I have to go."
And I did, and I barely made it where I needed to go.
I didn't wait that long for my food, but it's all good. I'm gonna get you a vegan burger. It's not like it's a dead carcass or anything. Thank you guys for listening to the Culture State Podcast. I am Chris Lee.
I'm Dennis Cox.
We'll catch you next time.
See y'all.
Same Culture State place, same Culture State time. That's whenever you want to listen to us.
The Culture State Podcast, part of the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network, with new shows coming out every Wednesday. Download and subscribe from wherever you get your podcasts, including the WRAL Sports Fan app.